Hello everybody, in this video we talk about this football Nike commercial, and after watching this video you should be able to do something like this. This is the first shot I want to talk about, and I want to talk also about virtual production, because this one is a virtual production. How can you use a virtual production to improve your cinematography? First thing what you need for virtual production is a lot of money. Or do you? Because renting a stadium and trying to shoot everything on the same lighting, this is even more expensive. I shot one time in a stadium and we had no actors, just empty stadium, and it was a pain because you're handling so much room and everything looks empty, and it's just something really difficult to do. So how can virtual production help us, and how do we shoot and light in a virtual production? This background is a big LED wall, and above them is also a big LED wall. So what are the benefits from working like that? Your camera has a tracking system, and when you move the camera, the background also moves with it. So it feels like you're really in this location. What are the benefits against green screen? The green screen has the possibility to have even wider, bigger space, because green screen is not expensive. You can build kilometers from it. Virtual production studio is a limited space, but the biggest thing you have is the background you can choose on location. So you can switch everything up. You can really control on location. Okay, now I want them to charge these lights. I want now that they're in the background clapping or jumping. You can change on the spot lighting situation. Maybe this was what you planned, but on the set you realize, this lighting looks even better. And this is the biggest pro for virtual production. The next thing that is also huge is reflections. With green screens, you always have the risk of green bounce. When you light a green screen, the green from the green screen reflects back, and most of the time you see it a little bit on the actors and it looks cheap. There are ways to remove it, but we prefer not to remove something later. So even when they wear something like glasses, what is hell for green screen, is here really good, because it even sells more the illusion, because the scenery is reflecting in this glossy materials. This is everything you need to know about the benefits from virtual production, but what do we with them now? So first thing first, you put your actors in, and you always need nevertheless base exposure. So above them is a huge butterfly system with a lot of lights shooting down, so that you get an even exposure that you can work with. You have surely to control, you can do not much more, because when you overshoot them, the background gets darker, and LEDs only can be this bright. So you have to work in a area that is possible for the technology. After you get your exposure, you do really often shoot football commercials a little bit abstract, a little bit more extreme. Because how commercials work is, you want to catch the audience on the TV. They're not paying attention to commercials, so everything has to look more special, more dramatic, so that the audience reacts to the visuals they see. So what they did, they do a cross light, and in shoots like this, they often use really, really big lights. For this key, it could be most of the time is a M90, with diffusion in front of it, and they use it on both sides. So this light gives him the key, but also him a backlight. And same here, this light gives him a backlight and him a key. So when you light something like it, they could use smaller lights or softer lights, but you want to emphasize a little bit the feeling of spotlights from a stadium. This light should feel like it's coming from there. Always have reference points in your VFX, so that everything looks just better. Next thing what they did is, they put a smoke machine on the background. This makes on a real field no sense. But a stadium, like I said before, feels really empty, and smoke just fills this area and it gives a little bit more dramatic and more action. And it's, in my opinion, almost an essential for shoots like this. The next thing what you have to talk about in virtual production is the ground. Because it's a studio. The ground is most of the time a big gray chunk of stones. You need a set designer to make everything blend nicely in. On shoots like Star Wars or Thor, they build big sets in the sceneries because the goal with virtual production is to make everything look real. It doesn't should look like it's shot in a studio and in front of a green screen. So set building is really, really important. The next shot I want to talk about is this close-up. We have a lot of sweat in his face. And sweat in movies, you most of the time do it with a mixture of water and oil. Oil stays really much longer on the skin and you get that glossy effect. And we only have here also the system with the big light shining from far away, but in between we will have a 12 by 12 butterfly with a quarter diffusion, I would say. Because as you can see, the light is really punchy and hard, but it's also a little bit soft. We have a little bit of roll-off and Rembrandt on his side of the face, but I don't think they used a softer diffusion. Even though it's side-lit, here is probably a sky panel just above the camera with a softbox to fill in a little bit of the shadows so that he's not completely black on this side. The next light they probably used here is a backlight, which also a bit harder source, but also can be a sky panel or an orbit with softbox or something like that. And they shot over both shoulders. I really like to do a backlight above both shoulders because I think it looks more natural. When you put your backlight here and shoot it on this side, most of the time the light bleeds a little bit into the face. And I think this looks most of the time not that polished, not that clean, not that high-end. And that's the reason when I have the possibility, I try to put the backlight always straight back from the actor. And what they also did is to sell the effect a little bit more. We went to the close-up. They built a rig with orbits or apertures and put it up so that it looks like stadium reflections. These little details make cheap productions look more professional or more polished, because these are details that are, okay, this is not that expensive to do because you can do it with a little bit of effort, but these details enhance your production a lot. The next shot I want to talk about is this one. And in the video, this background is actually dark and only lights up with a lot of flashes. When you do something like a flash effect, you need at least 3 lights because you need that randomness. More is better, but when you only do 1 or 2 that do this, it doesn't look good and doesn't sell the effect. And also when you put up these flashlights, which you can do with every aperture, every lamp today has a mode that just says paparazzi and it blinks in a rhythm. When you build it up, try to not hit the foreground. This scene looks really flat. We have a long lens, looks like an 85 millimeter, and this pushes the background really close to him, and we are on a flat wall. So how do we get depth into the scene? And they did it with this foreground that is almost completely black, as you can see. The only thing they did is they put maybe above here 2 lamps that shines on them so that they get a little bit of a rim light that we see there is something. But when they did this, the shot would look really, really flat. So the next thing what they did is in the pre-production, they knew, okay, he is wearing this yellow Nike jogger, so let's make the background blue. So with this combination, we get a really nice color contrast. You're a cinematographer. There is when you have an idea or a problem that you see in the pre-production, you can communicate with a lot of the other departments and say, hey, it would really cool if you put here a blue wall instead of a red, black, then you never want a black wall. The light umhin is pretty simple. It's probably just an Aperture 600 on orbit on a boom with a 90 softbox to get this really harsh beauty dish-like light. Because this is a stressful situation, you don't need here very clean and soft light. It always have to support the story you want to tell, and an interview situation is not a comfortable situation. So if you really enjoyed the cinematography breakdown, I would appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. My name is Marco Pagnoli and we see you next time.